Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Snowbeck. Today we are going to cover Unit 7, Lesson 5. It's all about tangents. And you already know about some definitions of tangent. For instance, we did sine, cosine, tangent, the trigonometric ratios, where tangent was opposite over adjacent. Also, you might know the definition, like if your teacher goes off on a tangent, they're like talking about something that's off topic. Well, today we're going to learn a third definition of tangent. And here's what it is. A tangent can be a line that intersects a circle in exactly one point. A line that intersects a circle in exactly one point. And an example is if you're looking over at the picture on the right here, you can see line AB, and see how line AB just skims past the circle and barely touches it. It just touches it at point A. So an example of a tangent is line AB. Now remember, when you name a line, you have to put that double arrow above it. One thing that's important to know about tangents is when you draw in a radius to that point where the tangent touches the circle. So right here, I'm going to draw in at that radius of the circle where, well, when it hits that tangent, it is always perpendicular. It's always going to meet at 90 degrees. We can use that idea here in example number 1. So it says, is KL tangent to the circle, to circle J? Well, what we want to try to figure out is this angle a right angle? Is that angle JLK 90 degrees? And so if it is, then it would be tangent to the circle. Now, notice the radius from J to L is 8. So then all the radii have to be 8. This side over here, right here, would also be 8 because this tangent is 8. So the whole side from K to J is 9 plus 8. Well, 9 plus 8 is 17. So what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if in this triangle, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we're going to check 8 squared plus 15 squared, and we're going to see if it equals 17 squared. If it does, then this is a right triangle, and KL is tangent to the circle. So 8 squared is 64. 15 squared is 225. If we add those together, it is 289. But 17 squared is also 289. So it balanced out. Both sides were 289. So we can say, yes, segment KL is a tangent. Because that had to be a right angle because it balanced out. Let's go on to number 2. Number 2, we want to figure out, is GH a tangent to the circle? So we're going to try to do Pythagorean theorem, and we're going to try to figure out if this angle right in here is a right angle or not. So here we go. We're going to do 8 squared plus 6 squared, and we're going to see, does that equal the 12 squared? 12 squared would be across from there, so that's going to be our C. 8 squared is 64, 6 squared is 36. If we add those together, we get 100. But 12 squared is 144. Uh-oh, not equal. So guess what? No, segment GH is not a tangent to the circle. Next, we're going to review something that you learned in intermediate algebra last year. You learned how to multiply two binomials, and most often you guys used what was known as the box method, I think. So what you did was you drew a box, and then along the top of the box you put one of your binomials. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to write x minus 1 across the top. And then down the side we're going to put the other binomial, which is x plus 4. And now what we do is we multiply all the different combinations of numbers. So for instance, x times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative 1x. X times 4 is 4x, and 4 times negative 1 is 4. And we put our 4 things in the box, and then we write them out. X squared minus 1x plus 4x minus 4. And we can combine these two, so it's x squared plus 3x minus 4. And that would be the answer to our question. I think for today, we will just stick with the box method because I feel like you guys are used to that method. It's a good method that works for you. So let's try number 4, and let's try to multiply x minus 3 squared. So the first thing I want you to remember is x minus 3 squared is the same as x minus 3 times another x minus 3. So if we want to multiply these, we're going to make the box, and we're going to make an x minus 3 across the top and an x minus 3 down the side. And then we're going to multiply all of our different combinations. Like x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. X times negative 3, it's another negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. I write out my 4 things that I got in the boxes, and then I combine the like terms. So we can have x squared minus 6x plus 9. So we are going to need to remember how to do this box method for our next problem. In number 5, I believe your worksheet says, find the value of x, assume that segments that appear to be tangent are tangent. So they're saying go ahead and assume that this segment JH is tangent to the circle. What that tells us is this will be a 90-degree angle between GJ and HJ. So we can do the Pythagorean theorem. And so we're going to take x squared plus 12 squared, and then we're going to set it equal to this side squared, but this side is tricky. Part of it is x and part of it is 8, so altogether it's x plus 8. Very tricky. So let's set it up. We're going to go x squared plus 12 squared equals, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, x plus 8 squared. And now we're going to start simplifying. So we're going to not have much that we can do yet with that x squared, but 12 squared we know is 144. Now x plus 8 squared is the same as x plus 8 times another x plus 8. And guess what? We can use the box method and we can multiply those binomials. Across the top we'll put x plus 8, across the side we'll put x plus 8. And then we'll multiply. X times x is x squared. X times 8 is 8x, x times 8 is another 8x, and 8 times 8 is 64. Now we can go ahead and I'm just going to copy down x squared plus 144, but instead of having these two binomials, I'm going to take the stuff that was in my boxes. So I'm going to take the x squared plus 8x plus 8x plus 64, and I'm going to put them down underneath. Now I want to start combining like terms, and I notice I have x squareds on both sides. So I'm going to minus out this x squared and bring it to the other side. Cool thing happens. They cancel over here on the right, but they also cancel over here on the left. Haha. So then we're going to have 144 equals. Now you can combine 8x plus 8x. That gives you 16x, and then we have plus, oops, this was supposed to be a 64. So plus 64. Sorry, I forgot that 4. Okay, continue solving. Minus your 64. I believe you get 80 equals 16x. And then if you have 80 equals 16x, you're going to divide by 16. And surprisingly, it is a nice number. I think it's 5. Yeah, x equals 5. So we solved for x. It was kind of involved, but we did it. This one is back to the basics. So assume that BC is a tangent to the circle, and so we assume that this right here will be 90 degrees. Will you go ahead and do Pythagorean theorem and solve for x? Please pause the video and try number 6. So I'm guessing you did x squared plus 14 squared equals 17 squared. 17 has to be your C because it's across from the 90-degree angle. Not much we can do with x squared, but 14 squared is 196, and 17 squared is 289. Subtract 196 from both sides, and we get x squared equals, I believe it's 93. Then we have to take square root, and x equals 9.64. Technically, we would get plus or minus 9.64, but since it's the length of a side of a triangle there, we don't have to worry about the negative. It's just positive 9.64. And here's the last big idea. If two segments from the same exterior point are both tangent to a circle, then they are congruent. So if BA goes and skims past the circle and touches it in one spot, and BC goes and skims past the circle and touches it in one spot, then they're both tangents to the circle, and BA and BC would be congruent. So BA, segment BA, would be congruent to segment BC if they are both tangents to the circle. So we can use that idea in number 6, and you can see here segment AB and segment BC are both tangent to circle D. Find the value of x. Well, if they're both tangents, then these two are congruent to each other. So x plus 15 should equal the 2x minus 5. They're congruent. Go ahead and do your algebra, right? Do your basic algebra here and solve for x. So we'll subtract the x. We'll get 15 equals x minus 5. Add your 5. And we get x equals 20. And I think that's all we do. It says find the value of x, and we did it. And last but not least, number 7. Segment QR and segment RS are both tangent to the circle. Find the value of x. Well, again, they would have to be congruent. So 3x plus 8 would have to equal the 26. Subtract your 8. We get 3x equals 18. Divide by 3, and x is 6. Well, that's all, folks. It's time to practice, so please do Unit 7, Practice 5. Have a great day.